It's the first review of the new year, which is pretty exciting. That also means it's a January movie, which is less exciting. So let's talk about it. When a group of 6 strangers sign up to test a new escape room which promises $10,000 for completion, they soon realize it's not a game. The only way to survive is to escape the room. So January is infamous for being a dumping ground for bad movies. Does Escape Room fit that stereotype? Tell me your thoughts down below in the comment section. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did it disappoint you? Let's have a nice lively discussion. And with that said, let's get started talking about the good. And the best thing about this movie is that it absolutely delivers the thrills promised by the premise. When the movie is focused in on this escape room where if you fail, you die, it's actually pretty good and keeps you on the edge of your seat. They created the different rooms in a way that each of them is memorable, distinct, and have puzzles where at times you're actually putting things together. Like as we were watching the movie, my buddy next to me was answering some of the riddles as we went along. It's just the sort of movie that you can kind of engage with the puzzles and have a little bit of fun with them. And so the thing that this movie absolutely has to get right, it does get that right. Now you could feel like the movie's limited by the PG-13 rating, but the specific puzzles, dangers that are around them don't really require that they show a bunch of blood spurts or anything like that. They're able to kill people off, have danger, urgency. You feel the stakes without having to see actual gore. And since that's what this movie is entirely about, it passes its most important test. From there, let's move on to the mixed aspects of this film. And the big thing that comes to mind is that this is a movie that can very much be described as it's like butt film. It's like Saw, but without the torture porn. It's like Cube, but without the sci-fi. The idea of strangers in a room trying to escape isn't a particularly new concept, but it didn't really bother me that much. If you take the Saw movies out of the mix, I don't feel like we've had too many movies like this in the last 15 years. And since the Saw movies are so divisive because the torture aspect doesn't appeal to a large number of people, this movie kind of has its own distinct spot to exist. The other mixed thing about this movie are the characters and the dialogue. Some of them I found a little bit more likable than I was expecting, and others were just as stock one-dimensional as you expect from the genre. Like at times I enjoyed the banter and chemistry between the cast, and at other times characters were just so unbelievably stubborn and selfish in this dangerous situation, it just made absolutely no sense. So the characters and dialogue really were a mix of a little bit of above average and then some of exactly what you expect from a January horror thriller that's PG-13. From there, let's move on to the bad aspects. And I'll say this, I was actually really tracking with this movie for about the first 80%. When the characters were just working on the puzzles, I dug it. I thought it delivered exactly what I wanted out of this film. But as soon as it started to reach the final act where they had to wrap things up and deliver some answers, it just started to go off the rails for me. The group dynamic that had worked so well in the first part of the film for me just disappeared. The answers that they delivered were very unsatisfying, and some of what happens in the end is so ludicrously improbable that it retroactively cancels your suspension of disbelief from the first 80% of the film. This type of movie in particular requires a certain amount of suspension of disbelief that someone could mastermind something like this, and if you have a good twist at the end, you buy into the story as a whole. But the answers given here just made me raise more questions, made everything seemed more contrived, and it left me feeling like the entire movie was a big cheat. It also has about as many false endings as Return of the King. You think the movie's over, and then it keeps going, and then you think it's over, and then it keeps going, and it does this about 4 different times. I really was digging it until about the last 20 minutes, and it really soured things for me. I probably knocked it back a whole letter grade because of it. On quality, I'll give it a C+. On entertainment, a 6 out of 10. And if you're interested in watching it, just wait for Redbox. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out that playlist right over there with all of my end of the year videos from 2018. Also, remember to give me your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and let's keep talking movies too much.